그래서 갑자기 해결이 되는 경우가 있더라고요. 그랬을 때 이제 희열을 확 느끼는 것 같아요. 제가 지금 공부하고 있는 곡들, 즐겨 연주하고 있는 곡들이 사실 클래식 음악을 처음 접하는 분들에겐 익숙하지 않은 곡들이지만 지금 제 나이에 가장 잘 표현할 수 있는 음악이라고 생각을 해서 그런 레퍼토리를 준비를 하고 있는 거니까 같이 즐겨주시고 같이 공유해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
President Lee Jae-myung will head off to Singapore and the Philippines for state visits next week, looking to expand cooperation with the Southeast Asian countries on AI, nuclear energy, and other sectors. The South Korean leader also made a trip to Jeollabuk-do province on Friday for a landmark agreement with Hyundai Motor Group aimed at developing Saemangeum into a cutting-edge industrial center. According to the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump is still willing to hold talks with North Korea without setting any conditions, suggesting a possible revival of a diplomatic engagement. President Lee Jae-myung is set to embark on a 4-day trip to Southeast Asia for summit diplomacy starting Sunday. He will meet the leaders of Singapore and the Philippines to bolster cooperation on AI and nuclear energy. Our Yoon Jung-min starts us off.
The South Korean president will embark on a state visit to Singapore from March 1st to March 3rd. President Lee Jae-myung will meet Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong for a summit and lunch, as well as President Tharman Shanmugaratnam for a state dinner on Monday. An AI dialogue with industry leaders is also scheduled. In a written briefing on Friday, Blue House spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung said Korea looks forward to working closely with Singapore, seen as a logistics and financial hub, for cooperation on trade, investment, and infrastructure, as well as AI and nuclear energy. Lee and Wong met last November on the margins of the APEC leaders meeting in Korea and forged a strategic partnership.
앞으로 양국은 전략적 동반자 관계에 기초하여 변화하는 경제와 안보 환경에 대처하는 한편 전략 첨단 기술 협력을 더욱 강화하고 인적 교류도 확대하기로 뜻을 모았습니다.
On March 3rd, President Lee flies to Manila for a 2-day state visit. He will meet Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. for talks, a state dinner, and a business forum. The leaders will explore ways to deepen cooperation on the defense industry, infrastructure, and trade, as well as build partnerships in nuclear energy, shipbuilding, critical minerals, and AI. The Blue House spokesperson noted that the summit takes place on Tuesday as the two countries celebrate the 77th anniversary of the establishment of their diplomatic relations. The Philippines is the first country in Southeast Asia to build diplomatic ties with Korea and has been a friendly country for decades dating back to the Korean War. The Philippines and Singapore are set to host ASEAN-related summits this year and next year, respectively. During the Korean ASEAN summit in Malaysia last October, Lee unveiled his ASEAN policy called the CSP Vision, or Contributor, Springboard, and Partner Vision, that puts cooperation on the economy and security front and center. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
President Lee also traveled to Jeollabuk-do province today for the signing of a major investment agreement between the government and Hyundai Motor Group. Now, the project aims to turn the Saemangeum area into a high-tech industrial hub. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
President Lee Jae-myung on Friday thanked Hyundai Motor Group for what he described as a bold and difficult decision.
정부를 믿고 또 이렇게 기업 차원에 어쩌면 상당히 리스크가 있을 수도 있는 이런 대결단을 해준 우리 현대차 그룹의 우리 국민을 대신해서 다시 한번 진심으로 감사드립니다.
President Lee was referring to the group's massive investment pledge of 9 trillion Korean won, roughly $6.2 billion in the Saemangeum area of Jeollabuk-do province. Hyundai Motor Group and the government signed a memorandum of understanding outlining the investment pledge on the same day. With this multi-billion-dollar investment, the government aims to transform the area into a center for robotics, hydrogen, and artificial intelligence.
광활한 부지와 풍부한 일조량을 자랑하며 물류와 교통 인프라 또한 탄탄하게 갖춰 나가고 있습니다. 현대자동차 그룹의 혁신 역량 그리고 풍부한 자원이 합쳐진다면 새만금은 최적의 시너지를 발휘하는 기회의 땅이 될 수 있을 것으로 믿습니다.
Under the plan, Hyundai will invest 5.8 trillion won to build an AI data center, 400 billion for a robotics manufacturing plant, and 2.3 trillion won for a 200 megawatt water electrolysis hydrogen facility and gigawatt-scale solar power generation. An additional 400 billion won will go toward developing what it calls an AI hydrogen city that will utilize autonomous vehicles, hydrogen mobility, and tram systems.
We estimate the project will generate some 16 trillion won in economic impact and create up to 71,000 jobs, contributing to the revitalization of the regional economy and balanced national growth.
Friday's MOU is seen as a cornerstone of the Lee administration's push to narrow regional disparities by attracting major corporations beyond the capital region. Speaking later at a town hall with residents of Jeollabuk-do province, President Lee reiterated that balanced regional development is not only a policy priority, but a survival strategy for the Korean economy. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
South Korea's National Assembly has pushed through a key judicial reform bill after cutting off an opposition filibuster on Friday, approving changes that allow constitutional appeals of court rulings. The bill, one of the Democratic Party's 3 judicial reform measures, was approved in a floor vote shortly after the debate was cut off, once the mandatory 24-hour period required under Assembly rules for terminating a filibuster had elapsed. Now, following the vote, lawmakers moved on to the next item on the agenda, a bill to expand the number of Supreme Court justices. The People Power Party immediately launched another filibuster, continuing its resistance to what it calls an overhaul that could undermine the country's judicial system. In other news, in the wake of North Korea's 9th Workers' Party Congress, the United States confirmed its openness to talks with North Korea without requiring preconditions. Kim Do-yeon reports.
The White House confirmed Thursday that U.S. President Donald Trump remains open to dialogue with North Korea without any preconditions, signaling a potential opening for renewed diplomacy. This follows North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's address at the 9th Workers' Party Congress, where he said that Pyongyang has no reason not to get along with the United States if Washington withdraws its hostile policy and respects North Korea's current status as a nuclear power. He emphasized that the prospect of bilateral ties depends entirely on the attitude of the United States, although he noted Pyongyang will maintain a hardline stance as its baseline policy. A White House official responded by confirming that U.S. policy on North Korea remains unchanged. The official highlighted the stabilization of the Korean Peninsula achieved during President Trump's first term, referencing their 3 summits in Singapore in June 2018, Hanoi in February 2019, and Panmunjom in June 2019. Meanwhile, South Korea's chief nuclear envoy Chung Hyun-doo confirmed in Washington on Thursday local time that while the U.S. maintains an open stance, including the no preconditions aspect, there is currently no active working level contact between Washington and Pyongyang. Chung added that Seoul will continue its role as a facilitator to support a resumption of bilateral talks. While Kim left the door open for Washington, he strongly rejected any engagement with Seoul. He labeled South Korea as the most hostile entity and stated he will permanently exclude the South from the category of compatriots. Also addressing Pyongyang's Party Congress on Thursday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry reiterated a call for cooperation. Spokesperson Mao Ning stated that China, as a close neighbor, is closely monitoring developments on the peninsula. She urged all parties to work together to safeguard peace, stability, and the political resolution process. These shifting dynamics arrive amid growing speculation that President Trump could seek to resume direct talks with Kim during his anticipated visit to China, which is scheduled from late March to early April. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, South Korean officials believe North Korea has more or less embarked on an era of Kim Jong-un, with the ruling party's recent Congress cementing his sole leadership of the regime. Our Oh Soo-young has more.
North Korea appears to have entered the so-called Kim Jong-un era after its leader strengthened his authority at the regime's biggest political event in 5 years. That's according to South Korea's Unification Ministry on Friday, pointing to several key features of the recent North Korean ruling Workers' Party Congress, which concluded on Wednesday. In a notable break from the past, the opening speech did not include expressions of reverence towards Kim Jong-un's predecessors, his grandfather Kim Il-sung and his father Kim Jong-il. In fact, a proposal recommending Kim Jong-un's reappointment as General Secretary cited achievements surpassing those of his late elders. Also, the party charter was revised to formally adopt the 5-point party building line, Kim Jong-un's philosophy on party politics, organisation, ideology, discipline and style of governance. Seoul interprets those moves as strengthening a long-term system of sole leadership under Kim. The Congress also brought major personnel changes, with 56% of its 250 members newly elected. South Korean officials say the reshuffle suggests a generational shift, with veteran figures stepping aside and technocratic officials rising in a system that increasingly emphasizes performance and loyalty. Marking its ever tighter governance, Kim Jong-un on Thursday, with his new party leadership, visited the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun, where the bodies of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il lie in state. The North State media KCNA said the officials renewed their iron resolve to carry out the party's policy mandate. One noticeable absence during the post-Congress event was Kim's daughter, Kim Joo-ae, who has in recent years appeared alongside her father at several state events.
As it was an occasion with the newly elected leadership members, it may be that Kim Joo-ae didn't go along. We're aware of various interpretations regarding Kim Jong-un's succession, and will keep monitoring the situation, keeping in mind the views of the intelligence authorities.
On inter-Korean relations set out by the North Congress, the Unification Ministry says it believes Pyongyang is maintaining its characterization of ties with South Korea as a hostile two-state relationship, rejecting Seoul's policy of peaceful coexistence. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
The government has given conditional approval for Google to take high-detail map data out of the country. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport made the decision Friday after a meeting with relevant ministries. Now, under the decision, 1 to 5,000 scale maps representing real-world distances at 1/5,000th of their actual size may be exported if certain security conditions are met. Under current law, maps more detailed than a 1 to 25,000 scale require the land minister's approval before export. Seoul has long taken a cautious stance, citing concerns that such maps may include sensitive security facilities. The National Pension Service delivered its highest ever investment performance since the launch of the fund. The agency said on Friday that it generated roughly $161 billion in returns from fund management last year, with the annual rate of return reaching a record high of 18.8%. The profit is equivalent to roughly 4.6 times the total amount paid out in pension benefits over the same period. Now, domestic equities led the gains, posting a return of about 82% and driving overall performance higher. The agency attributed the sharp rise in local stocks to strengthening AI and semiconductor-related tech shares, along with expectations surrounding the government's capital market policies. South Korea's content industry posted a record-breaking performance in exports in 2024, driven by the continued global surge in Korean culture. According to the Culture Ministry on Thursday, exports for that year reached $14.08 billion. That's up 5.5% from a year earlier, marking the highest figure since the ministry began compiling the data, and the second consecutive year of record growth. Now, the growth was led by the gaming industry, accounting for 60.4% of total content exports, followed by the music industry. The content industry's total revenue climbed 2.1% from a year earlier to $107.2 billion, driven by robust export growth. K-pop girl group BLACKPINK released its long-awaited third mini-album Deadline on Friday afternoon, marking its first full group release in 3 years and 5 months. According to YG Entertainment, the album title reflects the best irreversible moments, capturing BLACKPINK at their brightest and most radiant. The 5-track album opens with the pre-release single track Jump, followed by the lead-off track Go, which features an explosive hook and highlights BLACKPINK's signature positive and confident energy. Celebrating the release, BLACKPINK's collaboration with the National Museum of Korea featured a light show on the museum's exterior in its signature pink. South Korean historical hit The King's Warden has sparked a renewed interest in one of Korea's most tragic royal tales, drawing visitors to Yeongwol, the place where the young King Tanjong lived out of his final days in exile. Our Jung Hae-rim was there.
Dozens of people line up at the Cheongryongpo dock in Yeongwol, Gangwon-do Province. Once the inescapable exile grounds for King Tanjong, who was banished by his own uncle at just 16 years old, it is now a bustling tourist hotspot. Driven by the hit film The King's Warden, visitor numbers here have surged more than 5-fold compared to last year. Surrounded by the Seogang River and steep cliffs, the only access is by boat. Visitors can ride a boat into Cheongryongpo, tracing the exiled king's path across the water. And as you can see behind me, the once lonely journey is now bustling with people. Upon stepping off the boat, visitors are greeted by a dense pine forest. Further inside, they explore the stone monument which marks the original site of the king's exile and his reconstructed royal residence. Tourists walk around curiously, taking the site's solemn atmosphere.
I watched the movie The King's Warden, and since we had already planned a trip to Yeongwol to visit the observatory, I thought we definitely had to come here too.
Among the site's landmarks is the Gwanumsong pine tree and Mangyangtap, a stone tower he built while longing for home. Many visitors say the film has given deeper meaning to what they see.
At first, I was just admiring the scenery because the water was so clear. But then I remembered the movie scene where the raft breaks apart in the water. It made me realize just how miserable he must have felt.
Tourists are also visiting Jangneung, the royal tomb where King Tanjong was eventually laid to rest. Around the burial area, which is said to be significantly smaller and further from the capital than the tombs of other Joseon kings, visitors can be seen taking photos, carefully reading the information boards, and quietly paying their respects.
Coming to Jangneung and thinking about the harsh life and struggles King Tanjong endured breaks my heart. I hope this tragic story is passed down to future generations.
People also stop by the commemorative pavilion honoring Omungdo, the loyal villager who, according to legend, recovered and buried the king's body. Less than a month since its release, The King's Warden is already nearing 7 million viewers. The film is drawing visitors to historic sites tied to the young king, reflecting the Korean public's continued effort to remember and honor their past. 정혜림, Arirang News, 영월.
Pet owners here in South Korea will be able to bring their dogs and cats with them in cafes and restaurants starting this March. For more, we turn to our culture correspondent Park Konu here in the studio. Welcome back, Konu.
Great to be here, Demi.
So Konu, pets and cafes.
That's
Tell
right.
us more.
Yes. So with more Koreans raising pets these days, an estimated 15 million across the country, many owners have wanted to take their companions with them whenever they go out.
Right.
And until now, only limited places like some shopping centers have been allowed to let pets indoors, while venues that handle food have been strictly prohibited from doing so. Some places that allow pets were even operating in a legal gray area. For more, follow me as we take a look at how this will all work out. Fluffy pups sit on chairs and enjoy a puppuccino. Some lie down as if completely at home, with their owners enjoying their coffee alongside them. Until now in Korea, most restaurants and cafes have not allowed pets indoors due to hygiene issues. But starting March 1st, stores that choose to comply with some new regulations are able to welcome cats and dogs alongside their owners, just like this one.
As dogs live shorter than we do, every moment feels precious. If more places become pet-friendly, I hope my family can go to places like these more comfortably without feeling self-conscious.
It's been hard to find places where we could go together, but with this change, I think we'll be able to spend more time together when we go out for meals. I also hope that more places, beyond restaurants and cafes, will allow pets to enter.
Key standards for stores seeking to become pet-friendly include maintaining distance between pets and other customers, and installing pet seats or leash fixtures to prevent animals from moving freely. Pets are also strictly banned from entering food handling zones, including kitchens with physical barriers installed. If these conditions are met and approval is granted by local governments, businesses can officially register as pet-friendly establishments. The new laws mean pets could become a more common sight in public places, like this cafe. But there's also backlash from those that are concerned about pets in public places. Good boy, Bunny.
I'm worried my young nephews could get bitten or startled and possibly hurt, as they might want to touch people's pets. My husband's also allergic to cats, so I think this could be uncomfortable for some people.
Some cafe owners also worry about misunderstandings between customers with pets and those without.
Requirements like vaccination checks are now part of the process, so we make sure to read and understand these rules because we have to comply. But if customers aren't fully aware of them, there could be some communication issues when we try to explain the rules.
But with greater promotion and institutional support from the government ahead, opportunities for those willing to spend more time with their pets are expected to increase.
Now, Konu, I'm sure the new policy will take some time to settle here in the country. Now, what are some of the challenges that we can expect in the coming days, I guess?
Yes, so according to the Korea Food Service Industry Association, there were around 800,000 business owners related to food service across the country as of the end of 2023. And as around 70% of that total operates small establishments of 100 square meters or less, the organization said it could be difficult for those places to meet distancing requirements. And it also noted that as many owners are tenants, it makes it harder to modify facilities to become pet-friendly. And meanwhile, the number of officially registered pet-friendly establishments remains limited. So the Seoul District Office in Southern Seoul, one of the leading authorities in the pilot program that ended last year, says it's working to find practical solutions.
We plan to promote successful cases through social media so the system can take root in a way that considers everyone. We are also providing consultations through a pre-review service to help businesses focus on hygiene and safety management and participate in the program. If budget conditions allow in the future, we will consider further support.
But the store owners should also be aware of penalties given if they don't meet these rules. If pets enter food handling areas or are allowed to move freely in violation of the rules, businesses could face suspension of operations for up to 20 days upon a third offense. And that's why local governments plan to inform business owners that violations of these requirements could result in administrative penalties so they can comply and avoid disadvantages. Regular follow-up inspections will also be carried out.
Kanu, are there any final precautions that our viewers should keep in mind whether they own pets or not?
Yes, for all our viewers, especially for pet owners first, it's important to, remain with the proper etiquette, like keeping their pets within restricted areas and also keeping them calm as possible so it doesn't disturb or harm other customers. And for those without pets or those who may have concerns, participating establishments will display stickers that say pet-friendly at the entrance. And these locations can also be checked in advance through major map applications in Korea like Kakao and Naver. Also for store owners, the government has highly advised them to establish emergency contact systems for unexpected accidents and to enroll in liability insurance.
All right, Kanu, thanks for the report as always. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday as well.
Depending on what part of the country you're in, it was a different story in terms of weather. Southern regions and the east of Gangwon-do saw a wintry mix today, but further up north, there were fairly sunny skies with warmer and dry conditions. In fact, the dry weather advisories continues in the capital area and inland regions of Gangwon-do province. However, morning lows are still on the chilly side. Tomorrow, Seoul starts the day at 2 degrees Celsius, Gwangju at 4 degrees under sunnier skies in most regions except on Jeju Island. Then highs will go up as high as today at 16 degrees in Seoul and warmer in southern regions with Gwangju getting up to 17 degrees. And as the March 1st holiday begins, the weather turns unsettled again. Rain starting on Jeju on Sunday night will expand nationwide by Monday. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night. held its first debate over the weekend.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of the Status UN summit.
A massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang. Knock knock. The magical door to the world of K-animation is swinging wide open. Meet your instant new BFF, the adorable Catch. Tina Ping will have you hooked from the very first glance. Need a hand? Our Robocar Pony Rescue team is always zooming in to save the day. How about tagging along on Pink Fong and Pal's super exciting quest to reclaim their lost magic? With the mysterious life forms Cabion by your side, you can become a Cabion master and save humanity like the total hero. Protecting children's innocence while igniting their boundless imaginations. That's the magic of Korean animation. K-animation, the ultimate bestie for kids worldwide.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Jong-un. Today, influence is built not only on economic or military strength, but on culture, credibility, and connection. As K-pop, K-dramas, and Korean culture continue to expand their global reach, the question is no longer whether Korea has soft power, but how that power is strategically translated into diplomatic influence. On Within the Frame tonight, we speak to Ambassador Im Sang-woo to discuss the rising importance of public diplomacy and how cultural momentum can become national strategy. Drawing from his experiences in Madagascar and in India, we explore the impact of youth engagement, local cultural understanding, and digital outreach, and examine the future direction of Korea's public diplomacy in a rapidly changing world. A very big welcome, Ambassador Lim.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So we hear that, Ambassador, from November, you have been serving as the Deputy Minister of Public Diplomacy at the Foreign Ministry of Korea. So in this area of soft power, how would you define the importance of public diplomacy?
Well, my approach to diplomacy has always been people-centric. You know, whether we're discussing multilateral relations or bilateral relations between nations, in the end, it boils down to people-to-people interaction. So public diplomacy, we can say that it is the diplomacy of the heart. You know, it is the ultimate art of forging a trusting, lasting friendship. And in particular, in this era of uncertainty, you know, with a digital revolution coupled with geopolitical and geoeconomic changes, the importance of public diplomacy has really become very salient. And in a world where maybe formal treaties can be fragile, I think these heart-to-heart connections serve as the essential bedrock for global stability and mutual understanding.
Now, Ambassador, with your new post, I also want to ask, what do you believe are the most essential qualities and fundamental goals of your new position?
Well, I guess the fundamental mission, the goal of a deputy minister for public diplomacy is to touch as many hearts as possible in every corner of the world. So I guess in order to achieve this, you'll probably have to go beyond the traditional means of communication. You'll have to really have a deep sense of empathy for others, constant readiness to listen, maybe to the ability to speak a language that really resonates at a human level. So I guess it is not just about delivering a message, but really ensuring that the message is felt.
Right, so a two-way communication with the public would be very important. Now, on this global spread of K-culture, we want to touch upon that. Korea's national image, of course, it has been risen significantly thanks to Hallyu. So
from your perspective, how is Korean Wave being leveraged as a tangible asset for public diplomacy? And would you say that Hallyu is really the greatest strength of public diplomacy?
Well, yes, obviously, the Korean Wave has really become undoubtedly a most definitely tangible asset for Korean diplomats. Korean music and movies and drama, they're one of the most talked about subjects, topics, whenever I go to diplomatic gatherings, receptions, meetings. And these are really great icebreakers when you meet new people. So definitely, Hallyu has been one of the greatest strengths for Korean diplomats when we engage in various activities abroad. Yeah.
Right. It really sounds like it's going to back up the national strategies as well. Now, when we look at your experiences on the ground, Ambassador, from 2018 to 2020, you served as the first ambassador to Korea to Madagascar. Looking back, we want to ask, what would you consider the most meaningful achievement in public diplomacy back then?
Well, I spent about 3 years in Madagascar from 2018 to 2020, and so many wonderful things happened there. It was my first post as an ambassador abroad, and I would say learning the local Malagasy language was something that really had a big impact in my public diplomacy engagement. French is the official language of Madagascar. So when I first made public speeches, I obviously made my speeches in French. But I noticed that a lot of the people of the regular folks, they were just staring blankly at me, and I realized that French is the official language, but for the regular people, they spoke their own mother tongue, which is Malagasy. So I thought myself, if I were to really reach out to the people, touch their hearts, I'll have to learn their mother tongue. So that's what I did. I tried to pick up language. I took lessons in Malagasy, and it's a beautiful language actually. It's a very poetic language. For instance, when you talk about the sun in Malagasy, you say Masu Andrew. Masu means I, and Andrew means day. So the sun is the eye of the day.
Wow.
Yeah, very poetic. All the words are like that. And the grammar is also very unique. In Malagasy grammar, the subject always comes at the end of the sentence. So you'll have to listen very carefully to what the person is talking about, and because you never know who's talking. Is he talking about me, him, or her? You have to listen to the very end, very attentively. So it's a great language. So obviously I did not become fluent in Malagasy, but after a couple of years, I was able to conduct short interviews in Malagasy, and actually I also appeared in a local Malagasy TV talk show, which was a great experience for me. So I guess in the end, my efforts paid off because I was actually known as the only ambassador who spoke Malagasy to the Madagascar people.
Wow, it's really thoughtful that you really learned the language yourself. It might have really resonated with the citizens themselves too. Now, we also hear that in particular, you launched the youth supporter group 친구 de la Corée, if I pronounce it correct.
Yeah, 친구 de la Corée.
Right. Yeah. And bringing together fans of Korean culture to serve as a bridge between the two countries. In your view, what is the power and what's the significance of youth-driven diplomacy?
Yes, the youth are the future leaders, and in Madagascar, it's a very young country with, if I remember correctly, 60% of the whole population. The population was about 27 million when I was there. 60% of 27 million are under the age of 25, so really young country. And so I try to engage the young people, the Malagasy, as much as possible to instill in them this sentiment of purpose and to let them know that Madagascar, despite its challenges and the difficulties that it's facing, it could actually become the next Korea. Madagascar used to outperform Korea until 1967. So I used to emphasize that historical fact too. So I engage with Malagasy youth regularly, and I thought, why not organize a group of young Malagasy supporters for the Korean embassy, and that's what I did. And now we're actually receiving applications from not just the capital area, Antananarivo, but all over Madagascar, and people who went through the Chingu program, some of them, they actually went on to go to Korea and study in Korea. So we're actually taking part in nurturing the future leaders of Madagascar.
Wow, so it's also kind of a long-term investment when it comes to public trust with them. Now, alongside that, you also served at the Korean Embassy in India. We hear that you personally produced a dance cover video to a very popular theme song in Indian film. And the video, of course, it received widespread attention and was also recognized from Prime Minister Modi. So drawing from that experience, tell us about it. How did a deep understanding of local culture actually impact your public diplomacy efforts?
Well, actually, the video clip idea was just kind of like a spur of the moment kind of project. I was watching the Indian movie RRR on a weekend with my family, and there's this really iconic dance scene in the movie, which is really, really fascinating, and you just find yourself dancing to the rhythm. And I thought, well, why not? Why not try to reenact the scene with my colleagues at the embassy? So next day I went to the embassy, and the people, my colleagues were very enthusiastic about this idea. So we just practiced for a couple of days, and we didn't have anything like fancy equipment. Just used our cell phones and just just made this. It was not really a big production kind of thing. It just had a lot of fun. And it went viral. It was beyond our imagination, and we had Prime Minister Modi actually making comments on our video. I think like 10 million plus people watched the video, and I think this really is a testament to the simple truth that unscripted, genuine appreciation for the local culture goes a long way, and it really resonates with the local people.
Well, definitely. And also, you also took a rather unconventional step, becoming the first sitting head of mission to personally operate a YouTube channel yourself. What motivated you to do that? Oh,
well, that was actually in Madagascar. I was the first resident ambassador in Madagascar, and because it was a new embassy, and there are a lot of budgetary constraints, and I also had to launch a lot of public diplomacy projects. So I figured, YouTube, I found out that you don't have to pay anything to create a YouTube channel. So I thought, well, let's do this. So I actually taught myself how to create a YouTube channel, taught myself how to edit these videos. So I went out and took these videos with my cell phone. And after a month of struggling, I posted my first video. And to my surprise, a lot of people actually watched it. And really, I think it was really a new chapter in how I conduct diplomacy. With this SNS tool, diplomacy is no longer something that is conducted behind the scenes with diplomatic secret discussions. No, it's now it could be out in the open. I used to film my interactions with Malagasy ministers, and whenever I had these high-level meetings, I actually took up my camera and asked if I could film this for the Korean audience, and my Malagasy colleagues were very happy to do so. So actually, the people, by watching my channel, could be with me at the very scene of where diplomacy is taking place. So it's a new kind of way of conducting public diplomacy now with the digital revolution that we're experiencing. So I think it's a profoundly positive shift. Now we're conducting diplomacy with the people, and we're actually being more accountable to the people that we represent.
Wow, a very bold and really influential move that you've made over there. Now, that leads us to another big question about soft power phenomena like Hallyu are often born in the private sector. Well, public diplomacy, as we know it, requires, really strict direction from the government. So in your view, how do you think, what's the most effective model of partnership between the two?
Yeah. Hallyu is first and foremost, it's a creation of the private sector. It is not something that the government issues. So Hallyu is grown organically from the creation and passion of artists and entrepreneurs. So the role of government is to use Korean Wave as a tool for public diplomacy. Our mission is just to provide the platform, the infrastructure, and maybe strategic support to utilize this soft power. So it would not work the other way around. The culture has to lead, and diplomacy follows. And when we try to force culture, it wouldn't make sense. We just lose the authenticity that makes the world watch Korean movies and Korean drama.
So soft power may begin privately, but it gains strength through public strategy, of course. Now, before we let you go, Ambassador Lim, we want to ask, looking ahead, as Deputy Minister of Public Diplomacy, what are your goals moving forward? And what direction do you believe South Korea should take when it comes to public diplomacy in the years ahead?
Sure. As I said before, given the uncertainties and the vagaries of our time, I think our goal moving forward is to really engage with as many countries as possible, especially the countries that make up the global South, and to really build a strong people-to-people foundation. The global South is a very fairly large concept. India is a key partner in our engagement with the global South, but I want to go beyond India, all the way to Africa and Latin America. So really try to reach out to the people in all these remote corners of the world. Yeah.
And also, what about the direction of Korea, Ambassador? Korea's public diplomacy, where should it go in the years ahead?
Well, I guess you could say public diplomacy, it has to be a two-way dialogue. It has to be a two-way dialogue, and sometimes you can become too immersed in your own success, but it has to be a dialogue with your partner. As I said, you have to be ready to listen attentively and be empathetic with what the others think. And by focusing on these shared values and these human-centric connections, I think that's how really Korea can become a trusted friend for the world.
Wow, a very important message to end our discussion tonight. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights, Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have to leave our discussion right here, and that'll be all from us on Within the Frame. Thank you so much for your insights, and be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.